funny how quiet the house feels in the
If
morning.
you live with a cat,
Make your coffee,
you may have
sit down
noticed
for a
something
minute, and suddenly there's
strange.
time to
You can
think
talk
about
all
everything
day
and nothing all
about
at
work,
once. He
about the
doesn't care,
weather,
of course,
about
as long as
anything
there's
at
a sunny
all.
spot.
Your
So I told
cat
them, if
barely
shipment's not here by Friday,
reacts.
we just can't set
But
up
the
in time,
moment
you
you
know?
say
And they kept saying,
one
"We'll see what we can do." I'm
specific
like, that doesn't help me.
word,
It's the same story every time.
food,
I don't.
something changes.
Food.
Your cat suddenly looks up. Its ears turn toward you. Sometimes it even runs straight to the food bowl. So what's actually happening here? Does your cat really understand the word food? Or is it just reacting to your tone of voice? Or maybe it's just coincidence. Science has actually studied this question. And the answer turns out to be more interesting than most people expect. Because your cat might not just be hearing that word, it might be predicting what comes next. In 2019, researchers in Japan conducted an experiment with domestic cats. They played recordings of different words to the cats. The words were spoken one after another. Most of them meant nothing to the animals. For example,
Table. Window. Television.
after a
Marble,
while, the cats
lantern,
lost interest.
Tuesday,
They stopped
whisper,
reacting.
ivory,
But then the researchers
rotate,
played one
meadow,
more word,
crescent,
the
echo,
cat's own
umbrella,
name.
lantern.
Suddenly, the cats responded again. Their ears moved, their heads turned toward the speaker, even when the voice belonged to a stranger. The study showed that cats can actually distinguish their own names from other words. In other words, cats are not just reacting to emotional tone. They can detect differences between specific sounds. A more recent study revealed something even more surprising. Researchers showed cats two different animated images. Each image was paired with a completely new nonsense word, words the cats had never heard before. For example, Kararu and Perumo. The cats watched the images while hearing the words repeated several times. Then the researchers did something clever. They switched the sounds. The animation stayed the same, but the word was different, and the cats immediately noticed. They stared at the screen longer, as if something didn't match. This reaction suggested that the cats had already formed an association between the sound and the image. In other words, the cats had linked a word to an object. But does this mean cats actually understand language? Probably not. What cats are doing is something much more fundamental. It's called associative learning. This is one of the most basic learning systems in the animal kingdom, and it works in a very simple way. First, a signal appears. Then something important happens. If those two events repeat again and again, the brain links them together. Eventually, the signal itself becomes meaningful. Now think about what happens in many homes. Before feeding your cat, you might say something like food time, or dinner, or simply food. Then the bowl appears. The smell of food spreads through the room. Your cat eats. This sequence repeats every day, day after day, week after week, and slowly your cat's brain begins to recognize a pattern. The sound food is no longer just a sound, it becomes a signal that food is about to appear. And eventually, something even more interesting happens. Your cat doesn't need to see the food anymore. It doesn't even need to see you holding the bowl. The moment it hears that word, its brain completes the pattern. Signal detected. Prediction activated. Food is coming. That's why some cats run to the kitchen immediately, even before you stand up. From the cat's perspective, the future is already obvious. Modern neuroscience has a theory that explains this idea very well. It suggests that brains are constantly trying to predict what will happen next. Animals are not simply reacting to the world, they are anticipating it. Every experience helps update the brain's internal model of reality. So, when a familiar signal appears, the brain predicts the most likely outcome. For your cat, the word food has become one of the strongest predictive signals in its daily life. So the next time you say food and your cat suddenly appears from the other side of the house, remember this: your cat probably isn't understanding the word the way humans do, but it has learned something powerful, a pattern, a prediction. a reliable signal in the strange human world it lives in. And in that world, there is one sound that almost always leads to the most important reward of the day: food.
Understanding animals isn't about romance. It's about evidence and instinct.